Morning. This is John G. Presco, come to you live from Springfield, Oregon, and made a couple of videos last night. I went back to bed, woke up. It's 11 a.m. in the morning. Um, I had a chance to look at some of the headlines. Michael Kent is returning his medal that he received from Russia in 1992 when the Iron Curtain fell, Soviet Union fell, to the dismay of Vladimir Putin. Uh, he reached out to have a cultural exchange with Russia because he's uh, a cousin of the Queen and he's related to Nicholas II. In fact, he looks quite a bit like him. He has that bloodline, which Vladimir is very interested in restoring. He wants to restore the monarchy. I got a royal pin there. I got another one up here. And let's see, I got Canada. And I got this medal, which is kind of fake. I saw it at an antique store and I bought it. So I have no certified reason to wear any kind of medal. I do it because of my DNA is rooted in Europe, and we're going to talk about that. So yeah, Michael Kent actually had uh, J, oh boy, Rich Getty, Gordon Getty, come and perform at the St. George Chapel, where Harry and uh, come on, his brother were married in that chapel. We saw those uh, marriages of Diana's two sons, William and Harry. That's at the St. George Chapel. So he performed his Falstaff opera, which is based upon Shakespeare's play. And I am related to Shakespeare through the Webb family. And John Wilson, who with his father, John Wilson's grandfather, were buried in the floor of the St. George's Chapel. They had a lot to do with uh, the religion. They were high up in the church, and they helped form Windsor. Um, this talk, well, we're going to look at my theory, and okay, my theory that Jesus belonged to the liberal sect of Pharisees that were about the world in ships. And the world would be the whole Mediterranean area, very possibly up to England, Ireland, Scotland. There were the tin mines of Cornwall, where the uh, okay, the Philistines. Okay, we'll move on. It's waking up again. So the liberal sect was going throughout the diaspora and ministering to probably 2 million Jews that were in Greece and Rome and elsewhere. And these were the lost sheep. This is what Jesus says, that he's come for the lost sheep. That meant he was not just going to be giving his so-called new ideas and new religion to the Jewish people. And then after he was crucified as planned, he would blind Paul on the road, and then he would, the serial killer Jews, and would get the nod by dead Jesus who appears to him, and then he goes and takes the teaching to the Greeks and the Romans and other peoples throughout the world. So how God came up with this crazy plan, I doubted from the minute I read it. I picked up the Bible at 40, and a friend handed me the Bible, and I read it, and I was in the light when I read Luke, and I read the rest of it, and then I came to Acts and Paul, and when I got to reading about Paul, I said, no friggin' way would any God man, and I've been a follower of Mary Baba, would anoint a serial killer of members of his church, the head of his church, to bring the message to the Gentiles, because for some reason God couldn't find a way of bringing it to them himself directly. So I said, if the Son of God is represented through bloodlines somehow, was sent to earth to give a message, which is what? Dying for your sex sins so you can know eternal life? Well, why Paul again? Why, if that's, the target to free man of his guilt in the garden for having sex with Eve, if that's the target, why isn't Jesus saying so directly? He said, this is why I'm here. This is what's going to happen. We're going to die for you somehow to absolve humanity for disobeying God and eating of the apple and having sex with Eve, and begot a line of children all born with a sex sin. I said, where does this come from? And I just read that Trump came up with the helter-skelter idea on how to defeat Putin. And it goes, America gets Chinese planes, some jets, and it puts Chinese emblems on it, markings on it, and goes and bombs Putin. And Putin goes up, look, the Chinese have just bombed us. Let's go to war with China. Forget about Ukraine and the rest of Europe. We're going to have a helter-skelter war with the Chinese. Now, this is what the ex-president, or the deposed president just came up with. It's on the news right now. This helter-skelter plan to trick Putin into believing that he was attacked by China. Thank God he's not the president. So this Jesus is a Pharisee, and he's been questioned by the opposing Pharisee who were conservative. They were more or less the lawyers for the Sanhedrin, who had been pretty much influenced by the wealthy Jews. It's like the Supreme Court. They wanted to load the Supreme Court with wealthy, pro-Roman, basically pro-slavery members of the Sanhedrin, and they were backed up by the conservative Pharisees. And Jesus was a liberal Pharisee, and his group started teaching the Jubilee, the restoration of the Jubilee, and some other of the gleaning rules that were gotten away with, that protected the poor, the indentured slave. The Sanhedrin had done away with the Jubilee laws about 70 years before Jesus was born. And this was again where what's happened in our country, where the Republican Socialist Party, Abolitionist Party is taken over by rich Republicans who create their own conservative Pharisees from Bob Jones University, who invented the anti-abortion schism created by Paul Weyrich, because the government took away Bob Jones University's tax exemption because they outlawed black and white couples on the university. Okay, I'm sure Putin knows all about that, because that's basically what he's upset with the Ukrainians about. This is a civil war where the Ukrainians are liberal. They don't want to be under the Russian Catholic Church, very strict Russian Orthodox Church. Putin probably wanted church universities rather than liberal universities, and wanted to teach all Russian youth how to be in step with his Orthodox Church, very conservative Orthodox Church, versus the liberal Orthodox Church found in Ukraine. So you have this border, and he didn't want Russian young people say, well, why should I go to a very conservative university in Putin's very conservative Russia, when I could just go over here to Ukraine and get an education? And there it is. This is what I was talking about earlier when I realized that very possibly, and I'm going to launch an investigation. I don't have to become the governor to launch an investigation, but Royal Rosenmont Press will be launching an investigation into all the university systems of the United States, and to see if they were discouraging a foreign exchange program where after the fall of the Soviet Iron Curtain in 1992, like Michael Kent, how come a lot of white, black, Chicano students did go over to Europe to get an education, to live in Europe? They actually maybe could have got a cheaper education over there by far, and they probably could have lived cheaper over there in 1992, 93, 94. And I believe there was a conspiracy for the universities to get together and say, we've got to discourage that. We don't want basically, I'm going to have to say it, white, smart, white, rich kids going over to Europe to be educated. And my ex-friend Mark Gull is the head of the Department of Education at the University of Oregon. I'm going to send him an email with some of these videos I made earlier today. Did you ever hear any rumors after the fall of the Iron Curtain to stop rich white kids from going out of Europe to get educated? And Bob Jones University was producing a lot of propagandists for the Christian right. And they started making war on the United States government and took away their tax exemption. Eventually, they came up with the Tea Party. I believe the Tea Party, that was Dick Armey's plan. And Dick Armey also got the Christian Well, he made it possible for Christian churches to apply for grants, government grants to help like homeless people and other things like that, food programs. And then, of course, there's the private Christian churches and universities that are vying for the government money. So this is going on. I think this is what's eventually led to the rise of Putin and the horrible Cold War we're in with the threat of nuclear weapons. What we are seeing is uh, terrorism by Putin and his army in Europe. The bombing of civilian cities and homes and structures and apartment buildings. This is worse than Bin Laden on 9/11. He targeted a financial building because he felt that the world financial people were uh, backing the war against uh, basically conservative um, Islam, uh, which is what the Christian right is. There's the Christian conservative militias that are now forming, and then there's Al Qaeda, the Islamic uh, conservative militias that are been involved with terrorism. Attack upon the Capitol building was done by Christian militias. So we have the idea of liberal colleges, liberal students, such starting liberal revolutions like against the war in Vietnam that came out of the University of California at Berkeley. So that became the enemy of the CIA and just about everybody else. We don't want UC Berkeley's all over America or the world. We want our young people to be controlled somehow through their leaders and the church. And then you point at communism that got rid of the churches,